Hello and welcome back again, Coffee Beans. This is Irrigation and Drainage Engineering. Definition of terms. Part 2. Effective rainfall. It is the total rainfall minus the amount which cannot be stored or used in the paddy field. Effective spray deposit rate. The mean deposit from center to center of adjoining swaths. Effective swath width. The swath spacing that will produce acceptable field deposition uniformity for intended application. Effluent irrigation. Land application of wastewater for irrigation and beneficial use of nutrients. Effluent stream. It is a stream or part of a stream that receives water from groundwater or seepage. Preferred term is gaining stream. Emergency spillway. Auxiliary channel which transmit flood water exceeding the capacity of the principal spillway. Emission point. Point where the water is discharged from an emitter. Emission uniformity. An index of the uniformity of emitter discharge rates through a micro-irrigation system. Emitter. A small micro-irrigation dispensing device designed to dissipate pressure and discharge a small uniform flow or trickle of water at a constant discharge, which does not vary significantly because of minor differences in pressure head. Also called a dripper, or trickler. Compensating emitter. Designed to discharge water at a constant rate over a wide range of lateral line pressures. Emitter discharge rate. The distance rate is a given operating pressure from an individual point source emitter expressed as a volume per unit time or from a unit length of line source emitter expressed as a per unit length per unit time. Flushing emitter. Designed to have a flushing flow of water to clear the discharge opening every time the system is turned on. Line source emitter. Water is discharged from closely spaced perforations. Emitters, or a porous wall along the tubing. Long path emitter. Employs a long capillary sized tube or channel to dissipate pressure. Multi-outlet emitter. Supplies water to two or more points through small diameter auxiliary tubing. Emitter operating pressure. The average operating pressure of the emitters within any simultaneously operate portion of the system. Orifice emitter. Employs a series of orifices to dissipate pressure. Vortex emitter. Employs a vortex effect to dissipate pressure. Emitters. The devices used to control the discharge from the lateral lines at discrete or continuous points. Emitter's discharge rate. The discharge rate at a given operating pressure from an individual point source emitter expressed as a volume per unit time or from a unit length of line source emitter expressed as a volume per unit length per unit time. End suction pump. A single suction pump having its suction nozzle on the opposite side of the casing from the stuffing box and having the face of the suction nozzle perpendicular to the longitudinal axis of the shaft. Ephemeral gully. Small channels eroded by runoff which can be easily filled and removed by normal tillage, only to reform again in the same location. Ephemeral stream is a stream that flows only sporadically, such as after storms. Evapotranspiration. The combined effects of evaporation from the soil and plant surfaces and transpiration from plants. Farm water requirement. It is the sum of irrigation requirement and farm ditch losses. Field ditch. A ditch constructed within a field either for irrigation or drainage. Field drain. A shallow graded channel, usually having relatively flat side slopes, that collects surface water within a field. Field lateral. The principal ditch for draining areas on a farm. Field laterals receive water from row drains, field drains, and field surfaces and carry it to the farm mains. Filter, drainage. Envelope of graded porous material placed around a closed drain to prevent soil from entering the drain. Filter, irrigation. Device used in micro and sprinkler irrigation systems to remove debris from the water that might clog or otherwise foul the emitters or sprinklers. Filtration system. The assembly of independently controlled physical components used to remove suspended solids from irrigation water. Flood irrigation. Method of irrigation where water is applied to the soil surface without flow controls, such as furrows, borders or corrugations. Flow refers to the rate of water discharged from a source, expressed in volume with respect to time. That is cubic meter per second. Flume. A vertical tube attached to the wall of a bin through which grain can flow. Full irrigation. Management of water application to fully replace the soil water deficiency over an entire field. Flume. A vertical tube attached to the wall of a bin through which grain can flow. Furrow diking. Water-saving agricultural irrigation practice in which a long, narrow groove or trench is made in the earth by a plow. The dike is usually placed at one end of the field to collect runoff. Furrow irrigation. Method of surface irrigation where the water is supplied to small ditches or furrows for guiding across the field. Gridiron system is an arrangement of a drainage system where parallel laterals enter a main on one side only. Gross diversion requirement. The total quantity of water diverted from a stream, lake, or reservoir, or removed from the ground in order to irrigate a crop. Gully. A shallow steep-sided valley that may occur naturally or be formed by accelerated erosion. Gully erosion. The erosion process whereby water accumulates in narrow channels and, over short periods, removes the soil from this narrow area to considerable depths. ranging from 0.5 meters 1.6 feet to as much as 30 meters 97 feet. Gully head advance. Upstream migration of the upper end of a gully. Interbasin transfer. The diversion of water from one drainage basin to one or more other drainage basins. Intercellular canals. Tubular. Intercellular spaces sheathed by parenchyma, arranged in continuous tangential lines are diffuse, scattered, or in short tangential lines as seen in the cross-section. Interlock injection device. Safety equipment used to ensure that chemical injection pump will stop if the irrigation pumping plant stops to prevent the entire chemical mixture from emptying from the supply tank into the irrigation pipeline. Internal drainage. Drainage of the soil profile, may be either natural or augmented by men. Inverted siphon. A closed conduit with end sections above the middle section used for crossing below a depression or under a highway. Irrigable area. Area capable of being irrigated. Principally as regards to availability of water. Suitable soils. And topography of land. Irrigable lands are lands which display marked characteristics justifying the operation of an irrigation system. Irrigated lands are lands serviced by natural irrigation or irrigation facilities. These include lands where water is not readily available as existing irrigation facilities need rehabilitation or upgrading, or where irrigation water is available year-round. Irrigating stream. 1. Flow for irrigation of a particular tract of land. 2. Flow of water distributed at a single irrigation. Sometimes called irrigating head. Irrigation. It is the application of water to soil for the purpose of supplying moisture essential to plant growth. Irrigation check. Small dike or dam used in the furrow alongside an irrigation border to make the water spread evenly across the border. Irrigation district. A cooperative, self-governing semi-public organization set up as a subdivision of a state or local government to provide irrigation water. Irrigation efficiency. The ratio of the average depth of irrigation water that is beneficially used to the average depth of irrigation water applied. Expressed as a percent. Irrigation field practices are techniques that keep water in the field, more efficiently distribute water across the field, or encourage the retention of soil moisture. Irrigation hose. A closed conduit for supplying water to moving irrigation systems. Flexible when subjected to normal operating pressure and may be collapsible to a flat cross-section when purged of water. Irrigation interval. It is the span of time from one water application to the next. Irrigation management strategies. Strategies to monitor soil and water conditions and collect information that helps in making decisions about scheduling application or improving the efficiency of the irrigation system. Irrigation period. It is the time spent in one water application. Irrigation pipelines. Includes underground, thermoplastic pipelines. Irrigation runoff percentage. The equivalent depth of irrigation water running off a field expressed as percentage of the depth of irrigation water applied. Irrigation set. The area irrigated at one time within a field. Irrigation scheduling. Careful choice of irrigation application rates and timing to help irrigators maintain yields with less water. Irrigation system. All equipment required to apply water to the design area. Irrigation system modification. An addition to or an alteration of an existing irrigation system or the adoption of a new one. Irrigation water requirement. It is the quantity of water, exclusive of precipitation, required to maintain desired soil moisture and salinity level during the crop season. Irrigators Association, IA, is an association of farmers within a contiguous area served by a national irrigation system or communal irrigation system. Isohyetl. Stations' locations and amounts of rainfall are plotted on a suitable map, and contours of equal precipitation, isohyets, are then drawn. The equation for Thyssen method is used for computing the mean rainfall. Lag time, irrigation. The interval after water is turned off at the upper end of a field until it recedes from that point. Landscape irrigation. Water conservation through landscaping that uses plants that need little water, thereby saving labor and fertilizer as well as water. Landslide or landslip is the movement down the slope of a large mass of soil or rocks from a mountain or cliff. Often occurs after a torrential rain which soaks into the soil, making it heavier and more mobile. Lath box. A wooden box that is placed in a ditch bank to transfer water from an irrigation ditch to the field to be irrigated. Preferred term is spile. Leaching fraction. The ratio of the depth of subsurface drainage water to the depth of infiltrated irrigation water. Leaching requirement is the fraction of the irrigation water that must be leached through the root zone to control soil salinity at specified level. Limited irrigation. Management of irrigation applications to apply less than enough water to satisfy the soil water deficiency in the entire root zone. Sometimes called deficit or stress irrigations. Main and submain. The water delivery pipelines that supply water from the control station to the manifolds. Main canal is the channel where diverted water from a source flows to the intended area to be irrigated. Management allowed depletion, the desired soil water deficit at the time of irrigation. Mangum terrace, obsolete. Named for the irrigator of the broad-based terrace. Manifold. The water delivery pipeline that supplies water from the submain or main to the laterals. Manufacturer's coefficient of variation. A measure of the variability of discharge of a random sample of a given make, model, and size of microirrigation emitter. As produced by the manufacturer and before any field operation or aging has taken place. Mattress. 1. Mat or weighted blanket constructed of brush or poles. Interwoven or otherwise lashed together. Placed in a channel to control erosion. 2. A wire basket. Less than 30 centimeters thick. Filled with stones. Meter gate. A calibrated irrigation valve used for flow measurement. Microirrigation. The frequent application of small quantities of water on or below the soil surface as drops. Tiny streams or miniature spray-through emitters or applicators placed along a water delivery line. Mist irrigation. A method of microirrigation in which water is applied in very small droplets. Municipal discharge. A discharge of effluent from wastewater treatment plants operated by municipalities or public sewerage authorities. National Irrigation System, NIS, is a major irrigation system managed by the National Irrigation Administration. Natural system, drainage. System of drainage in which the main drains follows the largest natural depression from the outlet to the upper end of the area. On-farm irrigation facilities refers to the composite facilities that permit entry of water to paddy areas and consist of farm ditches and turnouts. Open ditch outlet. Excavated open channel for disposing of drainage water from surface or subsurface drainage system. Or for carrying flood water. Operational waste. Water that is lost or otherwise discarded from an irrigation system after having been diverted into it as part of normal operations. Overhead irrigation. See sprinkler irrigation. Overland flow. Surface runoff occurring at a relatively shallow depth across the land surface prior to concentration in drainage ways. May cause sheet and rill erosion. Hope it helps. Thank you again for listening. Please like, subscribe and comment your suggestion on topics you want to hear. Links of previous topics are stated in the description box below. See you in the next part. Bye. Rar.